Welcome to episode 25, No Barriers on the Reef. Live stream.
I'd like you to walk with me in my mind. The worst you could do is follow behind. You'll stroll through my thoughts, you'll greet my desires. You'll find yourself in my memory wires. Walk in my mind, then you'll know what I feel. So come with me, see what you find, alive and within the state of my mind. The sweetness of you sincerely displays itself as a glow in my mind's special caves. Walk in my mind, then you'll know how I feel. You will find my love for you everywhere, and all of my feelings I'd like you to share. If that is your wish, I hope it's true. You'll walk in my mind and I'll walk in yours too. Walk in my mind, then you'll know what I feel.
All right.
Well, I'd like you to walk with me in my mind. The worst you could do is follow behind. You'll stroll through my thoughts, meet my desires. You'll find yourself in my memory wires. Walk in my mind, but then you'll know what I feel. So come with me, see what you find, alive and within the state of my mind. The sweetness of you sincerely displays itself as a glow in my mind's special cave. Walk in my mind, then you'll know what I feel. You will find my love for you everywhere, and all of my feelings I'd like you to share. If that is your wish, I hope it's true. You'll walk in my mind and I will walk in yours too. Walk in my mind, but then you'll know what I feel. God. There you go.
All right, we have a third cameraman today. I'd like to introduce you to our special third cameraman. And here he is. He's very quiet. It's Corky's antique music stand.
But he's very new at this.
Very new.
Very new, and you'll see a little clumsiness. We're doing this little reading for you. What's it called? What's the title of it?
No barriers on the reef.
Okay, no berries on the reef, but I need a sip of water here.
If you're starting out from Chicago, that is, you'll be taking 24 hours of intercontinental flights. Then you'll hop on more flights with local destinations for approximately another 3 hours. Not there yet. You will have yourself a 40-minute taxi to Marina in order to catch an 80-kilometer boat ride. And then, and only then, Bob's your uncle, mate. You have just been plopped in the middle of the ocean, off the coast of Australia, near the Tropic of Capricorn, on a coral cay. So,
I'm next.
this is the beginning of our adventure, our adventurous story that we're going to tell you about our trip to the middle of the ocean.
So we were on an adventurous adventure to see the wondrous wonders of Australia. So I guess Bob is our uncle.
Up here, Lisa.
Bob is our uncle. It was to be a 7-week scuttle with my sweet sister Joy and our beautiful Aussie brother-in-law, Malcolm. Malcolm had booked this ocean adventure as the best and most exciting and exotic part of the trip, and decided to keep it a surprise. Malcolm had no idea that I had a little issue with seasickness. Let's put it this way. I'm just standing on a dock and I start heaving and hoeing even before I gets on the sloop.
And oing and baying on my end.
Just to mention, just the simple mention of, hey, you should do the blues cruise, gets me queasy. And then I get irritated. I do. So after this long trip, I found myself standing queasily on the sharp edge of the Australian border with the ocean, on a dock, facing a boat, pointed out into the vast sea. I was extremely irritated. I got a sharp elbow from Holly, and she said,
Corky, Malcolm has planned this surprise on his own from his dear sweetheart, and you should just suck it up. You should be grateful and www.zipit.com. Corky watched the horizon like a vegan on tofu, like an avocado on toast, like the green on his face. Before we knew it, we arrived. Corky was quiet, and as we walked onto the island, he turned with true tears in his eyes and said, "This is the most beautiful place I have ever been in my life."
This paradise was to be our home for the next 5 days. This was 1993. Only 40 visitors at a time were allowed to stay on the quay, and only for 5 days at a time. And once the boat left, you were disconnected from the rest of the world. It was like going to the moon. There had been a 5-year waiting list, and Malcolm somehow managed to score an immediate opening. It was a dream of a lifetime.
The small group with us were an eccentric bunch, including the personal royal haberdasher to Queen Elizabeth. The 12 residents on the island were scientists from around the globe, studying climate change, the fragile reef, and the tenuous wildlife. There was a 5-star chef on the quay, and modern tiny little cabins. We were looking forward to seeing both. As we moved towards the interior of the quay, we noticed a pungent smell that was increasing with every step. As the aroma became overwhelming, all the guests began to look at each other with trepidation, as if one of us held the answers. Then the guide said, "Watch out for the naughty terns nesting in the trees." The guide further instructed that we acquire large hats because these birds have perfect aim and people's heads are their favorite target. He added that earplugs were also available. Earplugs? Why on earth would we need those? For heaven's sakes, we are in the middle of the ocean. In the center of the miniature quay, there was a wood boardwalk that led to our very pretty white and sand-colored bungalow. Our cabin was completely open, wall to wall, floor to ceiling. There were no bugs, so there were no screens. Open was the rule, since the air conditioning was a ceiling fan. Since we were at the epicenter of the quay, the fragrance was now at its crowning glory. I told Cork it was bound to get better. I had some incense. Look, we'll go to bed early, and in the morning, we'll enjoy one of the world's great wonders. The coral quay we were perched upon was a mere 900 feet across and 2,000 feet in length. It would take only a brisk walk of 20 minutes to circumnavigate.
We were exhausted. We had just drifted off to sleep when we heard the shrieks. It sounded like a woman screaming in agony, along with a high-pitched baby's cry. We shot upright in bed. We crept cautiously to the wide-open doors. On the brilliant white sand were these awful black shapes dodging and moving rapidly back and forth. We slammed the doors shut. We jumped under the sheets, trembling with fear, as we tried to get back to sleep. I have a recording of these sounds from Heron Island.
Absolutely
Recorded.
Authentic.
This is actually authentic. You ready for this, guys? I better turn it down one more. But the awful crying continued. It was horrible. What beasts are shadowing us in the night, slithering and crawling. And then Holly screamed. One of them is in here with us. It's over there on the stove.
I said, "Get it out of here! Get it out of here!" But Corky didn't want to be involved.
No, I didn't want to be involved.
He finally grabbed some kitchen utensils. As he approached this spine-chilling creature, I snapped on the light. It was a tea cozy, a fanciful one at that. Sitting innocently on a teapot, in the darkness of fear, it looked exactly like a creature in the night.
In the morning, on the way to the gift shop, we couldn't help but notice everyone was wearing a variety of very large hats with very large brims. We ended up purchasing some pith helmets. We thought a more appropriate name for the helmet should be a thit helmet and not a pith helmet. But I digress. We did, of course, acquire the earplugs. Now, we learned that these sounds were coming from those black shapes on the white sand. And they were called mutton birds. And they had migrated, as they do, to the island along with the naughty turds, which I liked calling the naughty turds for obvious reasons. After one full day, we get used to the smell. Never even noticed it again. And we got used to the noise with the help of the earplugs that helped us get to sleep. And we also became enlightened here to the fact that this island belonged to the wildlife.
Absolutely.
Not the other way around. Indeed, we were visiting their home.
You can walk for miles at low tide on the tops of the reefs with long bamboo poles for support and reef shoes. We were told how to do this without damaging the reef. Oh, here's me in my lovely helmet attire, and then you can see the hundreds of birds in that one tree. So we were going for a little reef walk, and we saw royal blue and pink starfish, huge giant clams with yellow and fuchsia polka dot lips. Actually, we were told not to get near the giant clam, that if our foot or if our hand do not touch, do not get near, because if our foot or our hand would touch the lip, it would immediately open up and snap and take your foot or your hand, and they could not pry it open. So besides this giant, and I'm saying giant, it was as big as this couch, the giant clamshell with the fuchsia and yellow and pink polka dotted lips, and the bright pink starfish, and the blue lobsters they had, and it looked like a cartoon outtake from the Beatles' Yellow Submarine. This was a truly amazing place. We witnessed another migration when over 100 giant green and loggerhead turtles would come up on shore and lay their eggs, while at daybreak or dusk, newly hatched babies would race to the ocean wildly, flapping their cute little flippers. Every afternoon, a small skiff would take us to snorkel on the deep side of the ocean, exploring the reef from under the other side, where we saw colorful corals, rainbow-colored fish, all set about in a magical world.
I should say something here about these photos. This was 1993. This was a paper camera with a plastic coating so that we could take shots.
And it didn't
underwater.
have a color corrector as a professional photographer, underwater photographer would have. So that's what we had.
Okay.
So we're swimming in the reef.
So one sunny afternoon, I agreed that we could all take a trip to a nearby island, because it was only 15 minutes off of Heron Island. I thought I could handle that. It would be a new snorkeling site, and we'd have fresh grilled fish on the beach. So we all hopped into a small tugboat. The tugboat was right out of Disney casting.
It was very cute.
Yeah. One very cute tugboat. Once we got out of the protection of the reef, the waves began to build to astronomical heights. The captain said it was safer to keep going and to land on the leeward side of Wilson Island. Hopefully they didn't name the island after the soccer ball. You know, in the movie with Tom Hanks, his only companion was a soccer ball named Wilson from the movie Castaways.
But it kept getting worse. You could not see anything but skyscrapers of water on every side. Waves were actually breaking over the tug, and we four were braced together with our backs pushed against the wheelhouse and feet braced against the life jacket wooden box. One of the waves that broke over the tug was so forceful that it ripped me away from the arm-locked quartet and sent me head first, slipping off towards the back of the tug. Malcolm quickly grabbed my foot and yanked hard to pull me back from the brink. Thank God, after a very long time battling King Neptune, we were about to land on Wilson Island.
The burly captain with tattooed covered arms, like steel bands, looked back at us from the wheel. Unfortunately, he was crying. It's too treacherous to land, and our only hope is to try to make it back to Heron Island because we have to go against the waves. And then he blurbled, I think we're okay. I think we're gonna make it. That was reassuring.
Well, the high seas were caused by a cyclone that had blown through New Guinea. We almost missed it. We arrived back to Heron Island, all of us in shock. It was once again sunny and calm at the reef.
On our last day, I took my regular swim like I had been doing every morning. It was great because I was pretty much the only one in the water at this particular spot. This time I decided I was going to wear goggles to look around. I stood up and yelled, "Oh my God, I'm surrounded by stingray. This is amazing. Come everyone," that was on the beach. Come, look. And someone yelled, get out. Stingrays are followed by sharks. Sharks like following stingrays. I dipped my head in, and sure enough, I saw nothing but sharks all around me. I tippy-toed gently out of there. I had been swimming with the sharks every day and never knew it. And as it turns out, they were reef sharks and are fairly harmless unless you irritate them. And you know how you irritate them? By splashing salt water in their face. Or breathing. That really gets them.
That really irritates them. On our last deep water snorkel, I noticed the nose of a submarine gliding directly underneath me. It glided so quietly and smoothly. At some point, I realized, hey, this is not a submarine at all with a tiger-like design. It's a huge mammoth tiger shark.
According to the International Shark Attack File, the tiger shark ranks number 2 in the number of reported attacks on humans. The animal's large size qualify it as a formidable ocean predator that has a most voracious appetite for small and quiet swimmers named Holly.
Anaheim lunch! So, have you ever tried to swim really fast without moving your arms and legs? I learned how to do that on the spot.
So, in 2014, Sir David Attenborough did a TV special on Heron Island. A photo of Heron Island was included on the spaceship Voyager to show the diversity of the Earth. Because diversity makes our world a paradise. Heron has about 1,000 of the 1,500 fish species, 72% of the coral species, and over 200,000 bird species migrating through. This was all in addition to the seagulls that visited in 1993.
So we must thank our sister Joy and brother Malcolm for creating the experience of a lifetime that can never be surpassed. We were so fortunate in 1993 to have visited. Things have changed a lot since then, but for 5 days we were guests with only a handful of other humans on this tiny island in the middle of the ocean, living with the animals.
I'd like to live where the animals are, in a jungle by the tangleweed, where the kangaroo smile, so do the crocodile. The tiger got the monkey tree. And it is just in the mind. Like to sail over sunfish and whale to a garden in the frosty sea, where the sweet waters flow and the islanders know how to be the way they want to be. And it is just in the mind. Like to go where the cocoa bean grow and the cucarachas dancing in the sun, where you get what you get and nobody's upset, 'cause there's plenty there for everyone. And it is just in the mind. I like to stay where the sea turtles play, in the ocean on a coral cay, as the mutton birds howl and make you jump out of bed so the naughty turds could poop on your head. And it is just and it is just That's it. That's our show.
So we
For today.
quickly wore this shirt especially for you, as you
Yes.
can see. It is the Great Wave, which we got to experience many of the great waves, and that's our little boat right there. Goodbye, everyone. We'll see you on the Zoom.